Alright, so let me show you how to hook up the wings on this bit. First of all, we're gonna put the two rubber bands, which like I said are there for as long as you want to fly this bit. You don't really have to move them after you put them in for the first time. So we're gonna do the first rubber band. You kind of put it in through the top, and then you line it up, put the barbecue skewer, make sure it goes through. Once it's through, you don't see it right now, but once it's through, now you can see it. You put the battery cable that comes off of the ESC in between, on the upper part of the barbecue skewer, in between the two rubber bands. That's what I do, at least. That way it doesn't move. Also keeps the ESC from moving. So we'll put in the other rubber band right now, and then line it up again and push the barbecue skewer until it comes out. Kind of how to spin it a bit in order for it to come into place the way you want it. Spin, spin, spin. Play with it a bit if you need to. Line it up. Line it up as you see. And then put it in through the other side. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, so you just gotta play with it, and that's it. You have it, the cable is passing in between the two. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna straighten these up and then move them aside so that we can bring in the wings. We're gonna take the wings and remove what I do is I remove the receiver. It helps out. Everything's a little flatter. Just helps out with the wings because the cables need to go inside. So we're putting the cables in. We're putting the extension wires for the wire harness, a bit pushing them inside the wing halves. That way we can put it in. Then we kind of slowly, with a rocking motion, we're gonna push those in until it's flat, nice and flat. Then what we do is we push the rubber bands a bit into the slots that we've cut. I cut the slots on the fuselage a bit wider so that the rubber bands can go inside. We'll push one rubber band at a time in from the top. You see that's the slot I was talking about. It's a little wider on the fuselage so that rubber band can go inside. And we just push one rubber band. We have the wire harness extension in the middle, also helps it from moving. Kind of the rubber bands internally just save up everything. We'll do the exact same thing as we did on the other side. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to pull the rubber bands out of that little hole right there. So for that we've created something that is kind of like a hook. I'll put it out on the table. I'll just show that to you. It's kind of stuck there. So it looks like this, although you could generally also use this that comes with any MT1806 motor. So we're going to put that in, grab the rubber band, and then just slowly wiggle it out. See, it comes out on the other side. And we'll do the same thing for the other one as well. Just find it. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Sometimes you'll need to pick up the plane as well. And oops, there it is. We got it. Now I give these a little stretch. I usually tend to recommend to stretch the rubber bands a bit before you even start, especially if they're new ones. We'll use the same hook just to push them in through the other side, so that they're grabbing the dihedral braces again. Now we'll flip the plane over. You see it's grabbing on the top here and then on the second one there. And we're going to change it over right now, flip it over, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull them in, and then using the hole on the side just above the wings, we're going to put in the barbecue skewer. Now what I recommend is, in order to not create tension on the fuselage and on the power pod nose, create something like this, where we'll put in the two rubber bands and then basically pull it up and then put in the barbecue skewer. I think that's out of focus, so again, pull it up and then put in the barbecue skewer at the same time, so we're not creating any tension on the sides again. I'm gonna have to stand up for this, so bear with me a second. We're using again to hook on both sides. Sometimes you need to pull them out a bit. We're also going to put the wires of the servos, which are a little back in between the rubber bands again, just to create that little thing to make sure everything doesn't move, the wires don't move, everything sits nice and flush that way. So you have to do a little bit hard, and then with a rocking motion you have to put in through the first one and then continue same rocking motion through the second one, and then once you have it through both holes, what you got to do is you can release the tension. I'll show you how to do that. So we got it through both sides, and then what we're doing is we're relieving the tension, pushing it forward so it's not tense anymore, and then just generally rocking those legs that I showed you out of place. And that's it. The wings are now attached. I can promise you they're not going anywhere, as you can see. What we're going to do now is we're going to connect the motor to the throttle channel on the receiver, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to connect the ailerons connector into the receiver. First of all, the throttle one. And then we're going to spin it over. And what you could see is you just generally push it in between the two halves of rubber bands that we have created. Again, making sure it doesn't move. It grabs its flesh, so we'll pull it out on the top side and then connect the ailerons as well into the receiver. Got it. I'm going to connect it into the receiver. And then put the receiver on the side using some scotch thingy just above the stick that holds the wing rubber band in place. It's kind of a good location. It's easy. What I'm going to show you now is how to do the canopy. So basically, you take the canopy. I use a paper clip that I've cut out, but again, you could use the hole with a barbecue skewer that usually holds the original tiny trainer wings. What you do is you flap, you put it on the straight, and then push it using your thumb. You have these two triangles which you put on the sides in between the power nose and the fuselage, and then just generally do 1, 2, 3 push downs on each side. It's important to do it in the same way on each side, just to keep it steady and level. Sometimes you'll have to push as well, and once you have that, you just generally push it forward a bit more so that the lines on the bottom where the hole should go would be steady. You put it in one by side, slowly repeating the same way that we did in the beginning, and then you line it up again and you put either the barbecue skewer or the paper clip. If you plan to build a spit straight away, then I'd suggest just using a paper clip, because the section of the power pod where it enters on this part is a little bit thin, so it's easily rippable, especially if you're still new and you crash like I do. You just have to line it up, and then as you can see, it just doesn't move. It's stuck there good. Really, you can pull on it, it doesn't move. It's holding nice. You can either use plastic like I was using, or you can use cardboard. I do recommend to put some plastic like sellotape or duct tape or anything else on the cardboard just to give it that extra strength. It is something that you have to push in a lot, it fiddles. So you gotta treat it with a little bit of strength. So make sure that something's strong. And that's it. I'm just gonna quickly go get the receiver, the transmitter, and battery, and I'll show you quick crop check just so that you see everything's working fine. So we're turning it over. We're gonna connect the battery inside. I'm gonna use, just for this demonstration, a 2-cell, because it's only a crop check really quickly. Turn on the transmitter. Turn the plane around so that you guys can see everything. And now let's quickly do a check. Sit down for a second. So elevator is reversed. Let's quickly fix that. So voila, now it's working properly. Down goes down, blah, perfect. Let's check the rudder is also reversed, so let's correct that. Boom, rudder works perfect. Motor, and then ailerons are also reversed. They're all reversed because I was using it on a different project. Boom, works perfectly. I'll just quickly want to show you how I am going to disconnect the wings as well, so that you guys can see that. Let's just turn off the transmitter, put everything aside, and then let me show you how it's done. We'll disconnect the battery. So that's done. What we gotta do now is we gotta take off the canopy first. So out the barbecue skewer or the paper clip, put that aside, pull up the canopy and just pull it out. Simple. What we're gonna have to do next is we're gonna have to take out the receiver just so that it's not in the way, and take out the ailerons cable out of its channel for the receiver, just so that the wings come off, doesn't pull off. So out you go as well. And then what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to remove the barbecue skewer leveled exactly like we did in the beginning. So we're gonna use the legs tool that we've created again. It's a little bit more difficult when they're put together because of the space, but play around with it, it comes off eventually. Either use shorter legs, which is something I'd recommend, just don't use metal. If you do that, try to find a way to combine wood in it, something that wouldn't have a sharp edge that could rip the rubber band, because in an earlier video I did today, that's exactly what happened, so I had to redo the entire video. So we're pulling again like we did in the bit, took out the rubber band, and then you release the legs again. It's a little bit tough depending how long you do them. I've created shorter ones in the beginning which worked fantastic. Again, the only problem is that it was metal and it ripped the rubber band on previous. So you take that out, you take out the rubber bands in the middle, pull them out, and then once you take them out here, the rest pretty much just comes off easy. So again, the rocking motion, wings are off, and that's as simple as that. That's how it's done. Hope you enjoyed the video.